Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to talk about a farmer who nearly worked himself to death. And I know that sounds intense, but it's a really powerful lesson that might just change how you think about your own work and what it actually takes to get ahead. So let me ask you, does this feel a little too familiar? You're the first one to show up, the last one to leave. You're putting in those 12-hour days, but when you look around, you're just not seeing the results that match that insane effort. You feel completely exhausted, totally burnt out, and then you see other people succeeding with what looks like half the struggle. If you are just tired of being tired with not much to show for it, then you're going to want to hear this story. All right, so let's set the scene. In a little valley where families have been farming for generations, we meet our guy Thomas. He's 32 years old, he's just inherited a 10-acre plot of land, and more importantly, he's inherited a single unshakable belief from his grandfather, that hard work is absolutely everything. And this, right here, this was Thomas's mantra. He lived and breathed it. We're talking waking up at 4 a.m. every single day, working the fields with his bare hands because he refused to spend money on modern tools. He planted every single seed by hand, watered every row with a heavy bucket, and he wore those calloused hands and that aching back like a badge of honor. To him, being exhausted was proof that he was dedicated. But here's the twist. Right next door was his neighbor, Richard. Same age, same size farm, but a completely different story was unfolding. And this is where we really get to see the clash between just raw, brute force effort and smart strategic efficiency. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is just look at this contrast. It's wild. Thomas is putting in more than double the hours. We're talking 15+ hours of pure manual labor, and his farm is barely scraping by. Richard, on the other hand, works a breezy 6-hour day, uses modern systems, and guess what? He gets double the yield. This was the paradox that was just eating Thomas alive. You know, this is what the other farmers in the valley would say about him. They admired his work ethic, no doubt, but they also saw the tragic truth of it all. Thomas was the hardest worker for miles, yet his farm was failing. All that effort, it just wasn't translating into results. And then things took a turn. A brutal drought hit the valley. So what was Thomas's response? You guessed it, he decided to work even harder. He started waking up at 3 a.m. to haul water from a well that was even farther away. And this grueling routine, it led right to his breaking point, a total physical collapse from pure exhaustion. Lying in bed, completely defeated, this was the question Thomas whispered to his wife. And the doctor's warning? It was crystal clear. His work ethic was literally killing him. And this was the moment he realized his entire belief system, the very foundation of his life, might be completely wrong. So, 3 days later, just strong enough to walk, Thomas did something his pride had never, ever allowed him to do before. He walked over to Richard's thriving farm, swallowed that pride, and just asked for help. This was it. This was the moment everything was about to change. Now, Richard didn't just give him a checklist of advice. He told him a story. It's a great one. He described 2 woodcutters. The first one just swings his axe for 12 hours straight, thinking more effort equals more trees. Simple, right? But the second one, he works for 10 hours, but he stops every so often to sharpen his axe. And the result? Well, the second woodcutter, the one who took the time to work smart, cuts down twice as many trees. And this just brilliantly nails Thomas's problem. Richard looked him right in the eye and delivered this powerful truth. You see, Thomas had been swinging a dull axe for years, just wondering why his hands were bleeding but the tree wasn't falling. He had been mistaking motion for progress. But Richard didn't just leave him with a clever metaphor. He gave Thomas a clear, actionable framework for success, a way to finally sharpen his own axe. So let's look at the principles that would build a whole new foundation for his work. These were the 3 game-changing principles. First, systems over effort. So instead of carrying buckets for hours, Richard had installed a simple irrigation system. Second, focus over hustle. See, Richard had mastered 2 highly profitable crops, while Thomas was struggling to keep 5 mediocre ones alive. And third, and this one is huge, rest is strategy. Richard slept a full 8 hours, which made him a sharp decision-maker, unlike the perpetually exhausted Thomas. Armed with this new way of thinking, Thomas went from total burnout to a massive breakthrough. He stopped just reacting to problems and started actually planning. He researched irrigation systems, he cut his crop variety way down to focus only on what worked, and he learned to delegate some tasks. What Thomas learned was this incredibly powerful idea of strategic planning. He discovered that 1 single hour of thinking and planning could create more value than 10 hours of just mindless labor.
By simply taking time to think before acting, he began to completely turn his farm around and, way more importantly, his life.
And the results? They were just dramatic. After putting Richard's principles into practice, Thomas's very next harvest saw this huge increase in yield. I mean, this chart says it all. His production skyrocketed, not because he worked harder, but because every single hour of his work was now strategic and effective.
Let that sink in for a second. A 40% increase in production in just one season, while working less than half the hours he used to. He went from 15-hour days to 7-hour days and got way, way better results. I mean, that's the power of working smart, right there.
Now, obviously, this story isn't just about farming. It's about any of us who get caught in that hustle culture trap. Anyone who believes that if you're not completely exhausted at the end of the day, you're not trying hard enough. So let's talk about what this means for you.
So here's the absolute bottom line, the crucial point of this whole thing. Hard work is necessary. It's the foundation. You absolutely need it. But hard work without a smart strategy is just suffering. The most successful people aren't the ones who just work the most hours. They're the ones who work the smartest hours.
So here are the key takeaways for you. First, before you just decide to throw more hours at a problem, stop and ask yourself, is there a system that could do this smarter? Don't carry buckets when you can build a pipeline. Second, focus beats hustle. Every time. Stop trying to do everything and get truly great at the few things that really matter. And finally, please remember this. Rest isn't lazy. It's a weapon. A tired mind makes expensive mistakes, but a rested mind sees opportunities. So that leaves us with one final question for you. Take a good look at your work, at your life. What's the one task that just drains your energy without giving you the results you want? What is the one dull axe you've been swinging over and over again? And what are you going to do this week to finally sharpen it?